You are welcome to African Tales Stories channel. Without wasting your time, let's get to the watch. The night air smelled of damp earth and burning firewood. The moon, round and full, cast a silver glow over the village of Unwagu. Somewhere in the distance, the sound of a talking drum echoed through the night, a sign that yet another wedding was taking place. Women ululated in joy, their voices carrying through the wind. Men laughed, clinking calabashes filled with palm wine. But for Nkem, it was just another painful reminder that she was still alone. She sat at the edge of her mother's hut, wrapping her arms around herself as she watched the flickering glow of the wedding fires. Her heart ached. It seemed like every girl in the village was finding love. Every girl except her. Nkem was beautiful. Everyone said so. She had skin like roasted cocoa, smooth and dark. Her eyes were large, framed by thick lashes that could melt any man's heart. But beauty alone was not enough. In Unwagu, a woman needed luck, and luck, it seemed, had forgotten her. Her mother, Mama Uju, had spoken to almost every elder in the village, hoping to find a husband for her daughter. Nkem is ripe for marriage, Mama Uju would say. She will make a good wife. But each time, the elders only shook their heads. She is too proud, some whispered. She is too strange, others murmured. But Nkem knew the truth. It wasn't pride. It wasn't strangeness. It was Chike. Chike. The mere thought of his name sent shivers through her body. He was the village's golden boy, strong, rich, and handsome, every woman's dream. Chike was the son of the great hunter, Obioma. He had the sharp eyes of an eagle and the broad shoulders of a warrior. When he walked through the marketplace, women turned their heads. When he spoke, men listened. Nkem had loved him for as long as she could remember. She loved the way he laughed, deep and rich like thunder before rain. She loved the way he walked, like a man who knew where he was going. But to him, she was invisible. Chike never looked her way. Not once, not ever. And that was when the idea took root in her heart. Maybe he just needed a little help to see her. That night, long after the village had fallen silent, Nkem snuck out of her hut. The wind howled through the trees, carrying whispers only the spirits could understand. The path to Mama Ife's hut was long and winding, hidden deep within the forest. No one went there unless they were desperate. And Nkem was desperate. Mama Ife was old, so old that some said she had been there before time itself. Her hut was small and covered in strange carvings. Dried herbs and bones hung from the roof, rattling in the wind. A dim light flickered from inside. Nkem hesitated. Fear wrapped around her like a cold hand. Was this really a good idea? But then she thought of Chike. She thought of the way he laughed with other women, the way he ignored her like she was nothing. Anger bubbled in her chest. No, she couldn't turn back now. She stepped forward and knocked. The door creaked open on its own. Inside, Mama Ife sat in the darkness, staring at the flames of a small fire. Her eyes, milky with age, glowed like 2 full moons. Her fingers, long and thin, traced patterns in the dirt. She did not look up. "You seek something," the old woman murmured. Nkem swallowed hard. I need love." Mama Ife chuckled, a deep, unsettling sound. "Love?" she repeated, shaking her head. "Love is like fire, my child. If you do not respect it, it will burn you." "I don't care," Kim whispered. The old woman finally looked up. For a long moment she studied Nkem as if searching her soul for something hidden. Then slowly she reached under her mat and pulled out a small leather pouch. "Inside this pouch," she said, "is a charm. Place it under the pillow of the man you desire. When he wakes, his heart will belong to you. But beware, child." Her voice dropped to a whisper. Juju always comes with a price. Nkem's fingers trembled as she took the pouch. The leather felt warm, almost alive, as if it breathed with unseen energy. "What price?" she asked. Mama Ife smiled, a slow, knowing smile. "You will find out soon enough." A chill ran down Nkem's spine, but it was too late to change her mind. She clutched the pouch to her chest and turned back toward the village. As she walked away, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying words she did not understand. The leaves rustled like unseen spirits moving in the night. And behind her, Mama Ife's hut seemed to vanish into the darkness. That night, Nkem did as she was told. She crept into Chike's hut while he slept, her hands trembling as she slipped the pouch beneath his pillow. Her heart pounded in her chest. What if he woke up? What if she got caught? But Chike only stirred slightly, his lips parting as if he were already dreaming of her. And then, as if carried by the wind itself, his voice whispered into the night. Nkem, a slow, eerie smile spread across her lips. It had begun. The sun had barely risen when Nkem woke up to the sound of soft humming outside her hut. At first, she thought it was a dream, but as she stretched and blinked the sleep from her eyes, she saw him, Chike. He was standing by her doorway, eyes filled with a strange, burning devotion. His lips curled into a slow, dreamy smile. "Good morning, my love," he whispered. Nkem's heart skipped a beat. "My love?" Chike had never called her that before. She glanced around, as if to check if he was speaking to someone else. But it was just them. Her fingers trembled as she clutched the bedsheet. Could it be? Could the charm have actually worked? Chike stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. His strong hands reached for hers, holding them tightly as if he never wanted to let go. His touch was warm, almost too warm, like a fire burning beneath his skin. "You are everything to me, Nkem," he murmured, staring into her eyes with an intensity that made her breath hitch. It was happening. The spell was working. A surge of excitement rushed through her veins. The man she had loved from afar was now hers. Completely. But deep inside, a small voice whispered, "This isn't real." She silenced it. At first, the days that followed felt like a beautiful dream. Chike showered Nkem with gifts, golden bracelets, silk wrappers, and baskets full of the finest fruits. He wouldn't let her carry anything, not even a small calabash of water. If she so much as lifted a finger, he rushed to her side. "You should not have to struggle, my love. I will do everything for you," he insisted, pressing a kiss to her hand. The other women in the village gossiped in hushed voices. "Nkem is so lucky," one sighed. "A man like Chike, completely devoted. What kind of charm did she use?" Another whispered, chuckling. Nkem laughed along with them, pretending she didn't hear the last part. But soon, the laughter faded. At first, it was little things. Chike started appearing everywhere. If she went to fetch water, he was already there, waiting. If she sat beneath the baobab tree for shade, he sat beside her, eyes never leaving her face. If she tried to visit her friends, he followed her like a shadow. "Why do you keep following me?" she asked one afternoon, forcing a laugh. Chike's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Because I love you, and love means never leaving your side." A chill ran down her spine. Nkem tried to ignore it. Maybe he was just being affectionate. Maybe she was overthinking things. But then, one evening, something terrifying happened. She was sitting outside, watching the village children play, when a young man named Okechi approached her. Okechi was a kind, harmless boy who had grown up with her. "Nkem, your mother asked me to bring you this yam she harvested today," he said, smiling as he handed her a basket. Before she could thank him, a blur of movement shot past her. Chike. In an instant, Chike grabbed Okechi by the throat and lifted him off the ground. "How dare you speak to her?" Chike roared. Okechi gasped, his feet kicking helplessly. "Chike, stop! He's my friend!" Nkem cried, tugging at his arm. Chike didn't hear her. His face twisted into something unrecognizable, his grip tightening. Okechi's eyes rolled back. "Chike, please! You're hurting him!" At last, Chike let go, and Okechi collapsed onto the ground, coughing and gasping for air. Nkem fell to her knees beside him, eyes wide with horror. "Leave," Chike growled at Okechi. Terrified, Okechi scrambled to his feet and ran as fast as his legs could carry him. Nkem turned to Chike, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. "Why did you do that?" she demanded. Chike's expression softened in an instant. He reached out, touching her cheek with the same gentleness as before. "I love you, Nkem. No one should come between us. Ever." Nkem stared at him, her heart pounding. This was not love. This was something else. That night, Nkem couldn't sleep. She had to fix this. With her heart in her throat, she waited until Chike drifted off, his arm possessively curled around her. Slowly, carefully, she peeled his fingers off and tiptoed outside. She ran through the dark village paths, past sleeping huts and whispering trees, until she reached Mama Ife's shrine. The old woman was already waiting for her, as if she had known she was coming. The firelight flickered across her wrinkled face, casting shadows on the walls. "So you have finally seen the truth?" Mama Ife said softly. Nkem fell to her knees, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Please, Mama, help me. The charm, it's too strong. It's turning him into someone else. He's going mad." Mama Ife let out a long, tired sigh. "Child," she said, shaking her head, "Juju does not give without taking. You stole his heart, but now the spirits have taken his mind." Nkem sobbed. "Tell me what to do. How do I stop it?" The old woman leaned forward, eyes dark as the night. "There is only one way, child. You must tell him the truth." Nkem's breath caught. "The truth?" "Yes. The moment he knows he was forced to love you, the spell will break. But beware." Mama Ife's voice dropped to a whisper. "Breaking the spell may also break him." Nkem's blood turned to ice. "What do you mean?" she whispered. Mama Ife's lips curled into a grim smile. "You wanted love, girl, but now you must decide. Will you let him go even if it means losing him forever?" Outside, the wind howled through the trees. Nkem shivered. She had played with forces she did not understand, and now she had to pay the price. Nkem's hands trembled as she watched Chike sleep beside her. The moonlight poured through the window, casting long shadows across the room. His breathing was slow and steady, but there was something terrifying about the way he held on to her, even in his sleep. His fingers wrapped tightly around her wrist as if he feared she would vanish. She could no longer deny it. This was not love. It had started with sweet words, with gentle touches, with endless praises, but it had grown into something darker, something that made her chest feel tight with fear. Chike no longer let her walk alone in the village. He no longer smiled at others. His love had turned into a chain, and Nkem was the prisoner. She closed her eyes, feeling the weight of her decision. Mama Ife had told her the truth. Juju always comes with a price, and now she had to pay it. The next morning, Nkem prepared his favorite meal, spiced yam porridge with roasted fish. The aroma filled the hut, warm and inviting, but her heart pounded with dread. Chike entered, his eyes lighting up when he saw her. "Ah, my love," he said, his voice thick with devotion. "You always know how to make me happy." She forced a smile as he took a bite, humming in satisfaction. But then she spoke, her voice barely a whisper. "Chike, I need to tell you something." He looked up, chewing slowly. "What is it, my heart?" Nkem swallowed hard, her throat dry as dust. I used Juju on you." For a moment silence stretched between them, thick as storm clouds. Chike's spoon clattered onto the wooden table, his jaw tensed, his eyes darkening. "What did you say?" Nkem's breath came in short gasps, but she forced herself to continue. "You didn't love me before. I wanted you to, so I went to Mama Ife. She gave me a charm. It made you fall in love with me. But this isn't real love. It's a spell." Chike stared at her unmoving, his hands curled into fists, his breathing ragged. Then, suddenly he let out a terrible scream. A sound so raw, so painful, that it made Nkem's skin prickle with fear. His body convulsed. His fingers clawed at his chest as if something inside him was trying to break free. "Nkem," he gasped, his voice hoarse. "What have you done?" She reached for him, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know it would be like this. I just wanted you to love me." Chike staggered backward, his eyes wild with agony. "You stole my soul, Nkem. You played with fate. You—" His words choked off as another wave of pain crashed through him. His body shook violently. His veins darkened like ink spreading through water. The room grew cold, the air thick with an unseen force. Nkem could only watch, helpless, as the spell shattered. When the shaking finally stopped, Chike collapsed onto the floor, his body still. Nkem rushed to his side. "Chike?" she whispered, shaking him gently. His eyelids fluttered open. But when he looked at her, there was nothing in his eyes, no warmth, no love, just emptiness. He sat up slowly, rubbing his forehead as if waking from a deep sleep. His gaze swept across the room, confused. Then his eyes settled on her. "I remember everything," he said, his voice hollow. Nkem's stomach twisted. He stood, his face unreadable. "I remember how I never wanted you. I remember how one day I just woke up and couldn't breathe without you." He let out a humorless laugh. "It wasn't me, was it?" "It was never me." Nkem shook her head, sobbing. "It was my fault. I was selfish. I just wanted to be loved." Chike's expression hardened. "But it wasn't love, Nkem. It was a lie." He turned toward the door. Nkem panicked. "Where are you going?" Chike paused, his back still facing her. "Away, somewhere far from here." But he glanced at her over his shoulder. His eyes were no longer filled with devotion, no longer filled with warmth, just quiet, heartbreaking betrayal. Whatever we had, it's over." And with that he walked out the door. The village soon learned of what Nkem had done. Some whispered behind her back. Others openly cursed her name. No man ever approached her again. She had tampered with fate, and fate had punished her. One evening, she found herself by the river, staring at the rippling water. The moon shone down on her reflection, her own face staring back, empty, hollow. She whispered to the wind, "Was it worth it?" But the wind did not answer. She already knew. The story teaches that love cannot be forced, as true affection must come naturally and not through manipulation. Every action has consequences, and tampering with fate, especially through supernatural means, often leads to regret. What seems like a shortcut to happiness can quickly turn into a nightmare, proving that obsession is not love. Genuine love is built on freedom, not control. Additionally, patience and honesty lead to true happiness, while deceit and desperation only bring pain. Ultimately, the story warns that tampering with destiny comes at a heavy price, and one must be careful what they wish for, as desires fulfilled the wrong way can lead to irreversible sorrow. Thank you so much for watching this intense and gripping story on African Tales stories. Your support means everything to use. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments section. And hey, we'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comment section below. Don't forget to share these stories so that more people can watch and learn. Until next time, stay tuned for more captivating African Tale stories by E. Guys,